back to Seward Park this week for another 5:30 Criterium. As only watching this video back right now am I realizing that I was singing the Black Keys for the first minute of this race. Sorry if that was really annoying to anyone that I was racing with. It was definitely stuck in my head. This week looks a lot similar to last week. There are a couple of the same big hitters. Scott, the rider in the green Fount jersey, a few wheels up, right at the front actually, is the overall series leader and is always going to be a strong rider to keep an eye out for. And then Drew, who has been the other really outstanding racer in the last couple weeks, who will be coming on screen in just a minute here because Drew decided that this week there's going to be no easy laps. We're going to hit it on the first time up this hill, and we're going to hit it hard. Usually Seward takes a lap-ish for people to sort of settle into the pace a little bit, but right around here, there he goes, streaking around the outside, carried a bunch of his speed from the bottom of that hill, I'm sure, and just decides we're going to attack from the gun, which means people hit this hill a little bit harder on the first lap than they would normally. So even though he is obviously a threat, he's one of the stronger riders, having one rider off the front on his own on the first lap of the race is really not going to scare anybody too much. Scott is going to keep up the tempo on the front of the pack here, but he probably would have been doing that anyway, if we're being totally honest. My goal for this week, again, is positioning. The last couple weeks, the race has been won by a small 3 to 6 person breakaway that goes with either on the second preem or with a couple laps to go. So I'm going to try to get up near the front of the race and near some of the really strong riders so that I at least have an opportunity to get into that breakaway. Unfortunately, as you'll see later, that actually kind of backfires for me in this particular instance, but I think in general, that's a pretty solid plan. So I'm making up a couple of positions here. I saw this Apex racer coming around on my outside, and I knew I could kind of hitch a ride with him. So I do end up getting onto Scott's wheel here, and I'm thinking I'm just going to sit on it as long as I can, because one way or another he's going to follow some moves here. And I'm going to try to not get gapped too hard on the first preem, stay with the main group at least, and then see what I can do when a break forms later. Oops, rubbed elbows with the rider in the pink jersey as we were preparing to enter that turn. Not a huge deal, we just bumped into each other a tiny bit. So people were really kind of skittish on this first preem. I was kind of surprised that no one pushed it a little harder than this into the hill, but it looks like Drew's plan right here was to attack right at the base of the hill, and this rider in the black shirt tries to go after him with honestly a lot of strength. He's able to get a fair gap and stay level with Drew for the most part. Scott paces the hill a little more consistently. I think he's trying to save his sprint for the top of the hill here. But you can see Drew and this other rider really fighting it out up here. But this is what's really brutal about Seward. You get to the top of this hill and there's just so much distance left till the finish line. And in this case, it's more than enough time for Scott to come and start gaining speed. It looks like from here, Drew took the preem. Looks like Scott kind of stood up there. But it definitely was a sprint. It's not too much of a gap from my perspective. And if I remember correctly, I think the main group of riders is pretty much right behind me here. So we're looking around, but there's no real gap that forms on that first preem. So everyone's taking it a little bit easy going down the hill. Honestly, I think if you were an organized team, I think the only team that had multiple riders in this race was Breakfast Club, who had, I want to say 4 riders, maybe 5 even. I feel like if you're an organized team, this wouldn't be a bad place to try to launch an attack. You know that some of the stronger sprinters are going to have just tired themselves out going for that sprint, so if you can pace the hill really well, you might be able to launch a rider or 2 up the road right here. But in this case, no one does. Everyone's kind of still taking it easy through this lap. I've lost some places, so I'm going to try on this lap and the next to kind of make it back up into those first few wheels. Second preem, this is where things are really going to pick up. Honestly, I would have loved to be a couple wheels further up the field at the start of the second preem. I think there's a rider on my inside there, which is why I took that corner kind of wide. Would have loved to be a couple wheels up because now I know I'm going to have to do a little bit of work to stay with that front group. And this is often where a front group will get away and stay away is on the second preem. luckily for me, I am able to find Drew's wheel here, who I know is... Maybe he's not going to go for the preem this lap. He is a few wheels back going into this hill, but he's certainly going to move up through the pack. So I kind of get another free ride up towards the front of the group here, because I know that a couple of these guys in the front, Scott even has a little gap here, are just going to hammer it and try to get this preem. And Drew actually picks up the pace really hard. I was kind of not ready for that acceleration. Probably should have tried to go with him because I ended up out in the wind here. And I think I get back on this Canyon Rider's wheel here. And I think I was just kind of caught by surprise by that. I mean, that dude has some punch. But now we're in a really weird situation where this group kind of starts to form. It's just the two of them off the front. I think we actually have a little gap to the riders behind here as well. And this is where I make a pretty significant mistake. I get gapped by these two guys, which ends up being a pretty substantial problem because they're now going up to Drew and Scott together, who have slowed down a tiny bit after their sprint, but they're definitely not looking around as much. This Act Rider does come around me, and I think behind me, if I remember correctly, I have a gap. So I think I actually flicked that guy through because I was feeling kind of cooked. But I wasn't able to grab onto his wheel nearly as hard as I should have, and now I'm really kind of panicking because I think this group of 5 riders, including the 2 off the front, might end up going to the whole race. So like I said, I panic a little, and I think, okay, well, I can sprint up the hill here and try and secure a top 6, which is season points for the overall, or I can go back to the group and try and out-sprint, I don't know, 15 riders, however many are left in the group, 8 riders, however many. So I make a decision here that I'm just going to stomp on it up the hill and try and catch up to these 5 riders, which I don't necessarily think is a terrible decision because, like I said, groups like this, especially with this many strong riders, pretty often go to the end at Seward. But my heart rate is maxing out. This is right around my max heart rate for this race. And something unfortunate happens in a couple seconds here. So I'm able to make contact with the group, but you probably saw it right when they came out of that corner. All 5 of them sort of sat up. Now, they are going to go down this hill, obviously. So they weren't going to be pedaling super hard out of that corner necessarily, but everyone was looking over their shoulder, and everyone was, I think, in this group thinking, well, the group's going to come back anyway. And it looks like, I think this rider on the Blue Canyon here tries to inject some pace on the front, but by this point we are almost caught by the main group behind, which is super unfortunate. I, spoiler alert, kind of cooked my whole race there, kind of just, blew all my matches, trying to stick with this group of 6 and secure at least a top 6, and it just didn't work out this time.
real good audio?
It does.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a theme song for your channel?
I wish. That's cool. It's a cool idea.
I can write one.
Hey, thanks, Drew. But I honestly can't tell if by write you a theme song he meant I'm gonna accelerate really hard right now. In my head, I was thinking, man, the theme song to this channel right now is hearing your cranks turn really fucking fast as you push off the front. And honestly, the power on this climb wasn't even super high, but I just didn't really have the legs today between having tried to latch onto that group of 6 earlier and been unsuccessful about it. I just was feeling pretty exhausted. So from this point on, I'll just let the race play out. But I kind of gave up on the sprint after 6 or 7 riders got away off the front. I just knew I wasn't going to be able to catch them. Hate getting past right at the line, but I was super tired, like I said. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with more Seward Park.